Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Canadiens Connection podcast right here on Rocket Sports Radio, keeping you informed, engaged, and entertained, and here to talk to you each and every week about the Montreal Canadiens. And we've got a great show coming up for you today. My name is Amy Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Today's episode is actually episode 381, titled Halfway There. We are evaluating the Canadiens at midseason. Can you believe that? Rick Stevens, my wonderful co-host, founder, president of Rocket Sports, here in the studio with me, halfway through the season.
It is truly hard to believe that we're already halfway through the season, already in 2026. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Yeah. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to our Rocket Sports team, and certainly to all of our hockey community that listens to us every single week. Mm-hmm. Halfway through this condensed NHL season, and the Canadiens are doing all right.
Knock on wood.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing all right. And so we're going to talk about what we've seen so far in the first half of the season. But before we do that, let's give you a little idea of what to expect today. We've got our first segment, which is always our week in review. We briefly recap the games that the Canadiens played over the past week. We get you caught up on any roster news, injuries, transactions, signings, that type of thing. We always take a look at the Habs prospects by checking in on the prospect report. That's prospects playing in junior hockey, in the AHL or ECHL, over in Europe. And so, of course, we've got lots to talk about there with the World Junior Hockey Championship slowly ticking its way down towards a championship game, but lots to talk about there. And then, of course, we'll wrap up our first segment with just some general notes from around the hockey world, all before we hit our second segment, which is where we tackle our big topic of the week, where the Habs stand at mid-season, progress, problems, and perspective. We're going to take a look at a lot of different areas of the Montreal Canadiens and evaluate what we've seen, good, bad, indifferent, strengths, weaknesses in the first half of the season in things like offense, defense, goaltending, special teams, coaching, and other topics as well. So there's going to be a pretty comprehensive analysis of the first half of the season for the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, we'll then have a corresponding Canadiens Connection question of the week that we're going to pose to all of you out there that we want to get your feedback and opinions on. And in our final segment, we will bring you some of the best replies that we got to last week's question of the week, which was about Jacob Fowler. So we've got a lot to tackle today, and it's a fresh new year, first podcast of 2026, and let's get right to it. We have to go back to 2025 briefly because there's a couple of games that happened in 2025 that we need to review. First up was last Sunday's game. This was Montreal's visit to Tampa Bay. Fowler in goal. Notable, this was, I believe, the first time in NHL history that a Florida-born goaltender started an NHL game in Florida, in Tampa. Mm-hmm. Big deal for him. And he did manage to backstop that. This was goals all over the place on both sides of the ice. This went all the way to the shootout. Tampa Bay did come out ultimately on top, winning this one 5-4.
Good start for the Canadiens in this one. In the first period, they were in control. Shots were 11-3 for Montreal in that first period, and then they forgot how to defend.
A little bit.
It was, an ugly second period. Mm-hmm. 3 goals by Tampa, 2 by Nikita Kucherov, but they had many more opportunities, and certainly wasn't Fowler's fault. You look at that third Tampa goal by Nick Paul. Philip Deneau was brought in to provide some stability on defense with faceoffs, penalty kill. He was awful on that Nick Paul goal. Didn't do his job there, and Then in the third period, it was the young guns for the Canadiens, Demidov, getting the Canadiens on the board early in the period. Yuri Slafkovsky with two goals in the third period, and one with 4 seconds left, assisted by Demidov and Hudson. Folks were those the Danault defenders. They knew what how badly he had played in the second, and they were ready to jump to his defense and praise him for winning a face-off at the end of that game, leading to the Slafkovsky goal, but didn't happen. He lost that face-off at the end of the third period to Sorelli, and by happenstance, it was a turnover, got to Lane Hudson, who went to Demidov and then to Slafkovsky. So,
and that's not a subjective call. That's per the NHL stat sheet.
That's correct.
That Danault lost that faceoff.
Yeah, officially he lost that faceoff. And even if you read the La Presse's account, they said, well, many people were trying to credit Danault there, but no, upon replay, he clearly lost that draw.
Yeah. So they did manage to get a point out of it, but ultimately came up just short in the shootout. They then had a couple of days in the sunny Florida sunshine before they had to play again, this time just a short distance down the road, facing off against the Florida Panthers. And this one also took longer than 60 minutes to solve, but this time Montreal came out on top 3-2. The big news story in this one is that Sam Montembeault got the start in this, first time that he had started a game in almost a month.
Yeah, Montembeault got the start. Marty St. Louis said we need to give Sam Montembeault a purpose, a sense of purpose was the quote. Got to give him the net, make sure our team plays well in front of him in order to build his confidence back. That was the plan according to Marty St. Louis. And the Canadiens, yeah, absolutely. That was the plan. It was, if you're familiar with the NFL, prevent defense. Have you seen that? Three guys line up at the line and everybody else is, that's kind of how the Canadiens played this. There was no scoring for the first 40 minutes. Florida only managed 5 high danger shots in the first 2 periods. And then in the third, two early third period goals for the Panthers. They were weak goals. Let's be honest. One on the power play by Brad Marchand. He came around the net out to the blue line and floated it from the Geico sign and got past him. That Sam Reinhart goal, it was Philip Danault who lost the face-off. Sam Reinhart got the puck at bad angle up against the boards and allowed that. Montembeault allowed that goal. But the Canadiens stormed back. Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki tied it. Nick Suzuki won it in overtime. It was the Canadiens who bailed out their goaltender there, but it had to be a good feeling for Sam Montembeault to at least a boost in his confidence. And this game, the Canadiens got a power play in overtime, and we saw Brad Marchand elbow Mike Matheson. Mike Matheson was already kind of engaged with Sam Bennett down on the knee and in-plowed Marchand, who got a penalty for a hit to the head. Canadiens with the revenge there, Nick Suzuki. The only other thing we're going to mention here is the fill-in broadcasters being better than the regular broadcasters. Yep. And wow, it was great our whole team was talking about it. The Rocket Sports team on Slack. Dan Robertson, great to have him back. Of course, he's the regular play-by-play. He used to be the Canadiens radio guy. Now he's the regular play-by-play guy for Jets TV. And with Kevin Sawyer, it was tremendous to have them on the broadcast.
Definitely. It was a very pleasant call to listen to, that's for sure. So then the Canadiens continued to be able to enjoy some warmer weather to ring in the new year, playing then in a New Year's Day game, which seemed weird. Playing in Carolina against the Hurricanes. I for one was curious to see now that they had given Montembeault a start. Now what are you going to do? Because now you've got three of them who are actively playing. And I have to say I was pleased to see that this was for the Thursday game. I believe this was Dobesh, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm, yeah. It was.
Dobesh starting with Fowler as his backup. And so was glad to see that at least for now, they're being a little equal with the rotation, not doing any favoring yet. We'll see what happens for this weekend's games. But against Carolina, Rick, it's been it's the sticking point every time Montreal visits the Hurricanes. They haven't won in Carolina in 10 years.
Yeah. The Canadiens won this 7-5, getting their first win in Carolina since 2016. And Sebastian Aho always plays well against the Canadiens. He had 5 points in this game. Don't let the 5 goals fool you. Jakub Dobeš played well. The goals had been well. There was 2 power play goals by Carolina. Canadiens still struggling on the penalty kill. And so many tipped shots here that made it by Dobeš. But the Canadiens, no shortage of goals on their part. Slavkovsky had 2 points, a goal and an assist. Demidov had 2 points with 2 assists. Kapanen with a goal. Hudson had a goal and an assist. So again, the young guns coming through, and the Canadiens, as we said, getting their first win in Carolina since 2016.
So when choosing your 3 stars for this week, I have to say I'm liking the trend that we're seeing, that you have once again, not too much arm twisting needed, that Juraj Slavkovsky is topping your list once again.
He's on a roll. Slavkovsky with the first star in the 3 games since we last spoke. 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points, a +3. And he's been tremendous over the last couple weeks, 3 weeks. Ever since he appeared on the needs improvement list, he's been terrific. Lane Hudson, 5 points, the same as Slavkovsky in those 3 games. 1 goal, 4 assists, +5 for Lane Hudson, +5 also for Ivan Demidov. He gets the 3rd star. He also had 5 points. That's the 3 stars, each of them getting 5 points. For Demidov, it was a goal and 4 assists.
Very, very nice. Now, you do have some honorable mentions this week.
Cole Caulfield with 4 points. Noah Dobson's been great with also with 4 points.
Absolutely. And the return of the struggle bus. However, there are some guys who not quite up to par this past week.
The Canadiens pushed their goal differential to the positive for the first time since early November, I think. And for the week, for all 3 games, every Montreal Canadien was a plus, with the exception of Alex Carrier, Phil Deneau, and Josh Anderson. Each were a -2, and they were the only minuses on the team in the last week. So they get the on the struggle list. That's Carrier, Deneau, and Anderson.
Well, through 40 games played, the Canadiens have a 22-12-6 record. That is 50 points for them, putting them 3rd in the Atlantic Division, 7th overall in the NHL. They are in a playoff spot, and their odds of making the playoffs, according to Money Puck, Rick, it keeps going up.
68.5%. Last time we checked in there, it was even odds at 50%. That's taken a real jump up to close to 70%.
In terms of the roster, you mentioned in the game against against Florida, that late in the game, Brad Marchand put an elbow high up on Mike Matheson. Well, he ended up missing the Thursday night New Year's Day game against Florida after taking that hit to the head. And the interesting thing was, Rick, that it looked earlier in that day that he might play, but he ended up not. But maybe he's getting closer to coming back.
Yeah, probably a precaution. Adam Engstrom, late addition to the lineup. And Adam Engstrom, for the most part, played with Noah Dobson and looked pretty good on Thursday night. Matheson back on the ice for practice with his teammates on Friday. I think everyone's expecting him to be in the lineup on Saturday afternoon against the Blues. Jakub Dobeš in his post-game said, don't worry about him. He'll be back in the lineup soon. So
thanks, Jakub.
Yeah, making that announcement.
Yeah, that's very, very kind of him to do. There was another in-game injury, though, this week. The third period of the game against the Hurricanes, Josh Anderson went out.
Yeah, we'll see what's the status. It hasn't been announced for Saturday's game whether Josh Anderson will be in the lineup or not. If not, you might expect to see Owen Beck. He did not play the third period of Thursday's game versus Carolina.
I think what's been one of the more exciting things to watch this week has been the unveiling of the Olympic rosters, the official Olympic rosters for the Olympic Winter Games that are coming up in just over a month now. And starting with Hockey Canada announcing that Nick Suzuki has made the team.
Which is great news, and everybody should celebrate the fact that Nick Suzuki has played himself on to the Team Canada roster. We remember there was some concern in that he had turned down invitations from Hockey Canada at the end of the season, but he has been very good over the last calendar year. And Team Canada GM Doug Armstrong spoke about adding Nick Suzuki to their Olympic roster, saying, quote, Nick provides a solid 200-foot player. We know that he has the ability to play center and the wing if necessary. Just another multi-dimensional player. So looking for options. And don't be surprised if you see Nick Suzuki not in his familiar spot at center, playing the wing for Team Canada.
I think what I was even more excited about was the news that the Finnish Ice Hockey Association announced that Oliver Kapanen has made Team Finland for the Olympics.
Oliver Kapanen's been great in his rookie season. As we've said, when everybody's looking for the Canadiens' next second-line center, Oliver Kapanen has been doing a great job, and that line, that second line for the Canadiens has been driving a lot of their success, especially recently. And that didn't go unnoticed by the Finnish Ice Hockey Association. And of course, it makes sense for him to be added to their squad.
Absolutely. Very excited for him. It's a tremendous honor. Team Finland is always very competitive, and the fact that he's made that roster is very telling. The U.S. Olympic roster came out, and I can't say that I was surprised to see that neither Cole Caulfield nor Lane Hudson had made the roster. Would it have been fun if they had? Yeah, absolutely. I would have been thrilled for them. But really, all of the indications, at least things that have been said about what they were looking for the roster and whatnot, particularly in Caulfield's case, I wasn't super surprised that they were left off. But Rick, there was a slight social media meltdown about it.
Yeah, you saw the usual suspects, the Montreal reporters chasing clicks, the faux outrage about Caulfield and Hudson. As you say, it's disappointing for those two.
Yeah.
But I don't know that there was any prediction, any roster prediction that showed them on the U.S. roster. All of the signals coming out of the U.S. Olympic
Committee
brass, we're saying that it was unlikely for the, and it's not because they're not good players. It's just because the U.S. squad has similar players already. And with any of these selections, it's not to say that that's the final etched in stone roster. There's still quite a bit of time before the Olympics get underway, and unfortunately, injuries could crop up, and one of these players may be a last minute addition. So I'm not ready to get too excited about it. We'll talk about some other so-called snubs that happen, and maybe we can make more sense of this a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. Particularly for the U.S. roster, I have seen some talk that that reportedly in almost every call to players who made the squad that talking about getting a second chance at redemption from the Four Nations tournament came up an awful lot with the brass who was making the phone calls. So I think that played into a lot of it too, that kept as much of that Four Nations roster together as they could, because I think the U.S. is going to be on a bit of a revenge tour for the Olympics, wanting to rectify that loss. That also means we've talked previously that Yuri Slafkovsky had already been chosen for Team Slovakia, and Alexander Texier has made Team France. So there's quite a few Habs that are going to be competing over in Italy.
Total of 4 Canadians that Canadiens fans will be keeping track of in Milan.
It is Slafkovsky season. Let me tell you. He made Team Slovakia. He made the top of your 3 stars of the week list again, and he was the NHL's 3rd star this week.
Very deserving. Yes, he's making all the lists, and he should, because he's becoming that player that the Canadiens hoped when he was drafted.
And if that's not good news enough, NHL handing out more accolades. Ivan Demidov, NHL Rookie of the Month for the month of December.
4 goals, 10 assists for 14 points in 15 games in December, almost a point a game. He's been terrific.
He absolutely has. So the line combinations, hard to say what it's going to look like in St. Louis. The Canadiens opting to not have a morning skate on Saturday. So a bit of a question mark as to, is Josh Anderson playing? Is Mike Matheson playing?
And just from what our speculation is that Matheson is likely to be in the lineup. Josh Anderson, unlikely. The one thing we do know for sure is that Jacob Fowler will start in goal on Saturday versus the Blues.
We don't know, however, who's going to start on Sunday versus the Stars. All right, so that takes care of the NHL club. Let's just catch you up on all the latest news regarding Habs prospects.
It's time for the Rocket Report. The Rocket Sports Media Team is your premier source for information about the Laval Rocket, the AHL affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens, as well as Habs prospects playing in the CHL, NCAA, and leagues around the world.
So, I promise you, we keep mentioning this kid because there's a good reason to do so. And boy, let me tell you, Bryce Pickford, we have to highlight him again because the Medicine Hat Tigers defenseman was named the WHL Player of the Month for December. I mean, there's no denying he's had an outstanding season, but December was particularly special.
And yeah, it was just no contest. In 9 games, he had 14 goals, 8 assists, 22 points. Let me say it again, 22 points in just 9 games, and he's a defenseman.
Yeah.
He's currently riding an 11-game point streak, and he's been sensational. Congratulations on being named WHL Player of the Month.
And not going to get tired of cheering on all of his achievements and accolades either. Just like we're not tired of cheering on Alexander Zhuravsky over in the KHL because 1, 2, 3 times in a row, he's been named the KHL Rookie of the Month.
Yeah, October, November, and now December, Rookie of the Month for the KHL. Congratulations to him.
Really terrific. Shifting over to the World Junior Hockey Championship, things are winding down. We're getting ready for the semifinals on Sunday. But there are some Canadiens-related things happening throughout the week this week. Kent Hughes was in Minnesota for just a little while, spotted by the TV cameras.
Yeah, I was spotted at the Sweden-Latvia game. I'm sure he was there for more than that. And undoubtedly, this is an event that's well scouted by the Canadiens hockey ops staff.
Mm-hmm. Those semifinal matchups are all set for Sunday. It's going to be Sweden versus Finland, which should be a very intense game, as it always is when those two meet up. And it will be Canada versus Czechia. And we know how testy the round robin game was. Between these two, I can only imagine emotions are going to be higher. This is going to be another intense game between the two of them as well.
It was a wild game with all the goal scoring in that. And as you said, the traditional rivals, Sweden and Finland. So the semifinals should be a fun watch.
I will say, very sorry to see my Team USA with the early exit in the quarterfinals against Finland. But I also have to say they really needed to win that last preliminary game against Sweden so that they didn't have to face Finland in the quarters. Great late third period comeback to tie it and send it to overtime. Just an unfortunate goal to lose it there in overtime. And congratulations to Team Finland. So the Canadiens, as we know, have 5 prospects participating in the World Juniors. We just want to catch you up on how they have performed during the tournament. We'll start with Michael Hage playing for Canada, and he has just been he's just been lights out.
Some are saying that so far at this point, he's certainly in the running for the MVP of the tournament. In 5 games, 9 points, 2 goals, and 7 assists. He's a +5. He has a 1 game-winning goal, and he's playing about 16 minutes a game. His teammate Zane Parekh said, I think he just wants to be the guy. He loves the spotlight. He embraces it. That should suit him pretty well in Montreal. We heard similar things out about Jacob Fowler. His Team Canada head coach Dale Hunter said it's in his nature to begin with. Whenever he's playing, he's driven. So lots of good comments, lots of good performances from Michael Hage, and the Canadiens have said they would like the opportunity to sign him when his NCAA season is over this year.
Fingers crossed. Yes, please. A bit of a bumpier tournament so far for one smiling young Atos Koivu playing for Team Finland.
Yeah, it's tough for Koivu. He has a goal and assist, 2 points, +2, but he's averaging under 10 minutes per game, and that average was brought way down in that he only received 2 shifts at the beginning of the game versus Canada. And then he sat on the bench. And there was speculation, certainly from the broadcasters, that it was due to illness. There was flu going through Team Finland. But after the game, it was the Finnish coach, Lauri Mikkola, said he was not benched due to illness or injury. Yeah, he made it quite clear. And for his part, Atos Koivu said, I was responsible for Canada's first 2 goals. I take full responsibility for them. I could have played those situations much better. All I can do is learn from my mistakes. Well, I guess he was expected to learn from his mistakes. Not only did he miss most of the game against Canada, but he missed the quarterfinal game against the U.S. As he was in the press box for that one. So harsh treatment for Atos Koivu, and we'll see if he's been reinserted in the lineup against Sweden for the semifinal.
Oh boy. The young little firecracker LJ Mooney, of course, playing for the United States. He had an okay tournament.
3 points in 5 games, a -2, played just over 17 minutes a game each game on average. But he impressed Team USA coach Bob Motzko, who said about LJ Mooney, quote, the craziest thing with LJ for me when he started with us in Minnesota is how complete his game is. excellent in killing penalties. He blocks shots. He does all the little things easily and effortlessly. He's pretty dynamic. He's only going to keep getting better. He's a competitor. He's got a smile on his face, and he's one fun player to be around. And we're only scratching the surface. So
that's high praise from Bob Motzko.
Yeah, for sure.
Carlos Handel, defenseman playing for Germany.
He had 4 assists in 5 games, plus 1, played 24 minutes a game for Germany. And that all-important relegation game that Germany played against Denmark, Germany won that 8-4. It was Handel with 3 assists in that game.
Well, that's impressive. And Mikus Vatsvenaks has seen some game action, and we were cheering him on to see him out there.
Playing for Latvia, he had the unenviable task of going against Finland. Made 33 saves on 41 shots. Finns won that game 8-0. He also briefly got into another game for all of 11 seconds, I think it was, when the Latvian coach was using kind of a stalling tactic of switching goaltenders back and forth to give his guys a breather. But good exposure for him to the World Juniors.
Definitely. Laval has played 4 games this past week. And what can we say? Against Syracuse, win in the shootout. Against Syracuse again, win in regulation. Against Belleville, win in regulation. Against Utica, win in overtime. Yes, they are on a 4-game winning streak this week. They've been pretty impressive. Jared Davidson with just even the AHL tweeted out the clip of his OT winner on Friday night. That just a dynamic, just absolutely tremendously exciting goal by Jared Davidson. So they are on a 4-game winning streak. We'll see how they continue to do. They play Utica again today, Saturday, at 7:00.
A rare 7:00 game for them, with the Habs playing the early game.
That's right. And then they don't play again until next Friday when they travel to Rochester. In their 32 games played, they are 21-10-0-1, 43 points, first in the North Division, 4th overall in the AHL. Laval is rolling right along, just like they did last year. Exciting to see how the second half of the season is going to go for them. Trois-Rivières will be back in playing action this Tuesday night because the strike between the ECHL and the PHPA didn't last very long. Yeah,
cooler heads prevailed, and they quickly came to an agreement. That is, the ECHL and the PHPA. They had announced that they had agreed on a new collective bargaining agreement and got that ratified with the players. And so all the teams are back in action.
That's great. In general hockey news, Friday marked the 2026 NHL Winter Classic, the Rangers versus the Florida Panthers in Florida. The very first time the NHL has held an outdoor game in Florida. And despite the Rangers coming out with a stomping 5-1 victory over Florida, gotta say the Florida Panthers have to be pretty pleased with how the whole event went off, and the NHL in general.
Paul Maurice said it was incredible, praised the NHL, said it was a fabulous event, and he said, and this is coming from the losing coach. So you had to know that it was a very successful event. It was at Lone Depot Park. That's the home of the Miami Marlins baseball team. The roof was open. It was 63 degrees, just over 36,000 people in attendance. It was just a wonderful event. Watched as the teams lined up and the roof was open, the anthem was going, there was fireworks. Roberto Luongo came out to drop the ceremonial puck drop. Just a great event. And you got to think, when's Canada going to get one of these? In Montreal, in Toronto, something big. Would like to see it.
And the quintessential chef's kiss to the Florida Panthers for the Don Johnson Miami Vice look on entry, complete with the cars as well, rolling up in some pretty snazzy hot rods. We talked a minute ago about the fact that the rosters for the Milano Cortina or Olympics are now finalized. They are now out. And as you kind of prefaced, there were some very gaping omissions on some of these team rosters. And Matt Larkin over at the Daily Faceoff has the all snub team.
Yeah, I like this article. One, because it kind of puts things in context, and especially with the outrage and sometimes faux outrage about the omissions from the Canadiens roster. There's no doubt that Cole Caulfield and Lane Hutson are having great seasons, but you have to understand that these GMs are putting together. They're not putting together all-star teams. They're putting together the teams that they think can compete against their top competition. And Bill Guerin with Team USA seems to have a philosophy. You were talking about the revenge. Seems to want to make sure that he has a team that's physical. Seems to want to make sure that he has a team that can play really well at both ends of the ice. And when you look at the list that Matt Larkin has put together, I think Canadiens fans tend to overvalue their own players and undervalue teams or players from other teams. And I think that you understand that yes, it's unfortunate that Caulfield and Hudson at this point aren't going to be on that on the Olympic roster, but there are other snubs as well, and some maybe more egregious. And I think what Canadiens fans have to do is just celebrate the 4 Habs that are there. And I've seen all kinds of NHL fans wondering what in the world Nick Suzuki's doing on the roster, on the Canadian roster. We think it's okay. Other teams don't. But when you look through this list, the all snub team that Matt Larkin has put together for Daily Faceoff, Connor Bedard for Canada, and he talks about Sam Bennett, Mark Scheifele. Number 2, he has another 2 forwards, Seth Jarvis. I like Seth Jarvis. I'd love for the Canadiens to have Seth Jarvis. I think it's tough to see him off the list for Canada. Jason Robertson for the USA. Really, there's a snub for you. And it was said that Bill Guerin left off 5 of the 10 top U.S. scorers, I believe. One of those being Adam Fox as a defenseman. Right alongside, Lane Hutson, Matthew Schaefer, and the sensational season he's having. Some have him first in the Calder Trophy race for Canada. Mackenzie Blackwood, goaltender for Canada. Matt Larkin also has a B team, the all-snub second team, he calls it, which includes Sam Bennett for Canada, Cole Caulfield for the U.S., Mark Scheifele for Canada, Evan Bouchard for Canada, Matthias Ekholm for Sweden, and Scott Wedgwood for Canada. He goes through a list of honorable mentions. Interesting that not on the first or second team, not on the honorable mentions, Lane Hutson is nowhere on his list, which is a little bit odd to me.
What about Sam Montembeault?
Gee, I didn't. I'm going to have to peruse that list again. I did not see him.
No.
And but that, making that point, it was RDS that was all in a tizzy about the fact that there was no Quebec-born player on the Team Canada list since the 50s, whatever it was. And interesting that they used Sam Montembeault as their feature picture with
looking
his head down,
miserable in the locker room,
and a towel around his neck. I'm not sure what they were trying to suggest there, but apparently that's important. It's more of an indictment of how hockey in Quebec has gone and needs to be improved.
Absolutely.
Than the selection process.
Definitely. All right, we're going to take our first break here on the Canadiens Connection podcast. Coming up after these messages from our sponsors over at DraftKings, we are going to take a look at where the Habs stand at midseason. We're going to look at the progress, the problems, and give you a little perspective as we analyze the first half of the 2025-26 season for the Montreal Canadiens. You're not going to want to miss it, so stay with us. You're listening to the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio.
The holidays are heating up on Pick 6, DraftKings' newest fantasy pick'em game. Make your NBA picks for a shot to win big cash prizes this holiday season. Here's how it works. Just choose more or less on 2 or more player stats. The more accurate your picks, the bigger your payout. It's the kind of upside you'll only find on Pick 6, not those other pick'em sites. And it's available in most states, including Texas, California, Georgia, and more. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. New DraftKings customers can play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits with code THPN. Ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
And welcome back to the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio. Once again, my name is Amy Johnson. You're welcome to follow me over on X. You can find me there at the handle @FlyersRule. Definitely be sure you're following @Rocket Sports on Twitter. That's the main account for us here at Rocket Sports. That's Rick Stevens' account. You're going to want to follow that one for sure. And also follow this podcast @Habs Connection on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. And don't forget, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the podcast. If you're enjoying this kind of content, if you'd like a reliable place to come every single week to kind of get your one-stop shopping done for the Montreal Canadiens, get all of the analysis of what took place during the week, games, news, that type of thing, as well as some in-depth talk and perspective and opinion and analyzing about the latest big topics surrounding the Canadiens, then you want to be sure you're subscribed to the show. So just tap that subscribe button. You'll never miss an episode. We are here every week of the year. So we have officially hit the midpoint of the season, which is kind of usually the moment where the truth really kind of outs itself. It starts to show itself. There's enough games in the books that the strengths are really apparent and the weaknesses can't hide at all anymore. They've made their presence known. So today we're taking a little bit of a step back to assess where the Canadiens actually are right now. It's very different from maybe where back in October we were projecting they might be. And it's also very different from where we are hoping that they might end up come April. But what are they doing right now? What has the team shown us through half of a season? What's working? What still needs some resolution to it? What does the second half need to look like if the season is going to be successful, whatever it is you're defining success as being? And Rick, I would say they've had a successful first half of the season.
For sure.
In terms of the standings, in terms of the straight statistics.
Yeah. Look at the standings. You look at their record, 22 wins, 12 losses, 6 overtime losses. They have 50 points. That puts them third in the Atlantic Division. And they've reached 50 points in 40 games. And that hasn't happened since the 2016-17 season. Fastest time to get 50 points. So you have to, just from that perspective, say that it was a successful first half of the season.
I think so. So we're going to take some different aspects of the team and take a closer look at what those different areas have done in this first half of the season. We're going to kick that off with offense. And if we're talking about offense, there are three players who are at the top of the conversation, and that is Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and Lane Hudson.
All of them have 40 or more points through the first 40 games. And that hasn't happened since 1993. To have three players with at least 40 points through 40 games, that magic 1993 year. And the Canadiens are fourth in the league for goals for with 135. They are scoring goals. And part of it is due to, you got to give credit to Marty St. Louis. His offensive system prioritizes maintaining puck possession in the offensive zone. And we've heard him say that he wants possession there for offensive and defensive purposes. And he wants to generate high danger scoring chances from that possession. We look at the best scoring teams in the NHL. So far this season, you have the Avalanche, who are scoring over 4 goals a game. They're tops. The Dallas Stars in second. And then the Canadiens, third in the league in goals per game at 3.38. Pretty remarkable. And part of that is that it's not only one line scoring. They're getting scoring from their top 2 lines,
which is phenomenal. And there's no denying that Slafkovsky line with Demidov and Kapanen has been, I think, a pleasant surprise for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
When we shift gears and look at the defense, however, the defense is really lacking in a lot of places.
Yeah. Again, when we look at the system that Marty St. Louis has designed, and he spoke about it quite openly, his defensive system relies on the fact that he wants his team to spend as little time as possible in their own zone. And you have to say that has been an Achilles heel. It's been a failure. The Canadiens have allowed 132 goals, placing them 24th in the league in goals against. So third in goals for, 24th in the league in goals against. We've talked about the defensive system. We've talked about the individual players in that system. The defense has had issues in the first 40 games of the season. There's no question about that.
Definitely. When we move to goaltending, this is an area that did a complete 180 this year. There was some rough riding in the crease in the first half of the season. Part of it due to Montembeault's just sheer inability to stop a puck. Part of it due to the then subsequent knock to confidence that Marty St. Louis engineered a little bit with Jakub Dobeš. That didn't help, and so the two of them struggled. And then things absolutely flipped on their head when Montembeault kind of took a back seat. Jacob Fowler gets called up, and Fowler and Dobeš really became just kind of like the superstars in the blue paint.
They solidified the goaltending position. We went into it in a bit more detail on last week's show. But with Montembeault not starting since the 2nd of December, I believe it was Fowler and Dobeš who carried the team in December. And we talked about the schedule that the Canadiens had, that they entered the toughest part of their schedule in December, and they were successful. And the reason was it was Fowler, it was Dobeš who solidified that goaltending position. And, Montembeault, he had months of poor performances and two mediocre starts in Laval and some extra attention from the goaltending coach is not going to turn around. And we saw him give up the kinds of goals that he has been giving up this past week, despite the fact that Marty asked his players to to bog up the neutral zone and allow as few chances as possible, and that was successful. But that's not who this team is. They're not going to be able to play the same style if Montembeault is in the crease. And right now, this three-headed goalie rotation that they've got going has got to be solved, and it's got to be solved quick because there's evidence that from the past. We look back, and it was funny. There's a tweet from one of the Montreal reporters that said, "Who knew that when Montreal was suffering their goalie rotation, their three-headed goalie rotation years ago, that the wrong move was to get rid of Jake Allen." If they listened to this podcast, we would have told them. This is. We knew that Sam Montembeault was a place filler, and it just didn't. It's happened at an inconvenient time, but we know now that Jacob Fowler and Jakub Dobeš can handle the load, can handle the pressure, and they've done it in a very difficult part of the Canadian schedule.
Now, we can't analyze the first half of the season without acknowledging some very big injuries that took place, some of them early in the season, some of them longer than others, but we've got at least 5 big ones: Kirby Dach, Alex Newhook, Jake Evans, Patrick Laine, and Caden Gooley.
And it hurts to have Kirby Dach or Alex Newhook out of the lineup. Jake Evans for his defensive play. But the real big factor here is Caden Gooley. There is we've said it before, the Canadiens don't have another defenseman on the roster like Caden Gooley, and they've really, really missed him. The defensive play has really suffered with the Caden Gooley being out of the lineup. Fortunately, he's getting close to a return, and that will help. In the absence and in all of the players' absence, other players were asked to step up. Some of the younger players have certainly done their best and have maybe overachieved to fill in the gaps with the extra responsibility. The injury issues have also been dealt with by waiver claims with players coming in. But I think the most pleasant surprise has been Adam Engstrom, how he's come up from Laval and has been, we've talked, he's been better than Struble, he's been better than Xhekaj, he's been better than Carrier. He's quietly filled in, and no, he isn't a Caden Gooley, but he's filled in on the back end, and he's going to be part of the Canadiens' defense for a long time once he makes the permanent transition.
Now, one of the biggest storylines going into this season for the Montreal Canadiens is that they were going to be the youngest team in the league this season. I'm almost at a point that I'm actually I'm almost tired of hearing about how they're the youngest team in the season, because there's times that the organization, whether it's the coach or whatnot, is using that as either a crutch or an excuse, when the youth in the organization has been absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, it's as you say, an excuse pointed to negatively that they're the youngest, but it's not been the Canadiens' young players who have let this team down. They have propelled this team to a very successful 40 games. Ivan Demidov, after 40 games, he leads all rookies with 35 points. Oliver Kapanen, who is expecting this, he's 5th with 21 points for all rookies. Demidov leads all rookies in assists with 25. Kapanen is second in goals with 12. Demidov is third in goals with 10. That second line has been, without it, the Canadiens would be nowhere near where they are. And the addition of Slafkovsky has been tremendous. Slafkovsky, fifth on the Canadiens with 30 points so far this season.
And Lane Hudson has been tremendous as well. Basically a point in game player at this stage.
40 points in 40 games, point a game. He's second in points for defensemen league-wide with 40 points. So it's the young players, the youth that have been creating. It's not the veterans that have been creating depth. It's the youth.
And even occasionally when there has been a call, Jared Davidson had a decent call up when he was up from Laval. There's been some.
Owen Beck's been
Owen Beck has been very good
yeah.
when he gets into the lineup. So the youth are definitely the future. When we turn our attentions to special teams, this is a gigantic case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde because the Canadiens have actually done a decent job on the power play, but their penalty kill has been abysmal.
Power play's going great, 6th in the league at 24.8%. Penalty kill, 25th in the league, 76.7%. They got to fix that, and that goes along with their defensive play and maybe who's directing them, but we'll get to that a bit later.
And that shouldn't come as a surprise either. It's something we predicted before the season started was going to be an area of concern because of the personnel that used to play on the PK who were not coming back this year. And that's something where down the stretch, games are going to get tighter and the Canadiens may not be able to outscore their issues. So they got to improve on defense and they've got to improve on the penalty kill. They do. Let's talk a minute in turn. You can't really go talking about any portion of this season without talking about the schedule, because of the Olympic break that's coming up. The league has to take a 3-week break, but they still have to play the same number of games in the same period of time, and so that has created this just super condensed schedule. Teams playing. I mean. This week is what, the 5th week in a row that the Canadiens are going to play a Sunday game?
Lots of Sunday games.
Literally, it was all December. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of 4 games in a week.
It's just the schedule has been very topsy-turvy.
And what is kind of odd is that the Canadiens are much more successful on the road than they are at home. And if they had been successful as some of the top teams at home, they have even a better record. The top 5 teams in the NHL on the road right now, Colorado leads the league, then Dallas, then Tampa, and 5th is Minnesota. Those are all top flight teams. The Montreal Canadiens are 4th. They have a great road record. They have a terrible home record. And it doesn't come down to one thing. Some are blaming it on coaching and the Canadiens don't appear prepared when they come home. Some are blaming Marty St. Louis for overthinking matchups when they get home and when he's in control of matchups. And certainly Sam Montembeault for October and November started the vast majority of the home. He was always gifted the home starts, and he was losing most of those. So that may have something to do with a poor home record.
Definitely. Speaking of Marty St. Louis, we also have to analyze the coaching staff. That's Marty St. Louis, it's Trevor Letowski, it's Stefan Robidas, and it's Eric Raymond for the NHL club, and how they have performed thus far in the first half of the season. Yeah,
and we've been pretty fair with all the coaching staff, and told you over this first half what they've been doing well and what they haven't been doing well with. I think it's been throughout the first half where, for the first time perhaps, Marty St. Louis has been under some criticism for some of his decisions. It was during the first half where he's come out and said many times that he hasn't a clue about how to manage the goaltending situation, not his bag. And that perhaps some of the decisions made between Marty and his goaltending coach, Eric Raymond, have been curious at best. Stefan Robidas has really struggled getting through to his defensive players, and some of his ice time choices have been lineup and ice time choices. And certainly his ability to coach the penalty kill has come under question. I think for the most part, what we can say, the least critical thing we can say about the coaching staff is they need help. They need help, and they need experience. They need expertise. Things that this coaching staff doesn't have and isn't on top of. And we saw them, there are higher expectations for this team than the coaching staff has ever faced. The Canadiens are expected to be a playoff team this year. And, there hasn't been those high expectations of this group before. And sometimes they're finding themselves just out of their depth. So, do we expect a mid-season correction there? It's unlikely a coaching change or addition happens mid-season. Doesn't happen, but once the season ends, if it continues the way it started, Robidas is under the microscope. So is Raymond, and it's hard to watch given that there's so much good talent in Laval with Pascal Vincent, Marco Marciano, the goaltending coach, Daniel Jacob instructing the defenseman. This is an area where I think the Canadiens have to take a hard, objective look in the offseason.
Definitely. All right. So overall, yes, there are some things that need to improve. There's some glaring weak areas, but overall, I'd say a pretty positive first half of the season for Montreal in general. And that's really encouraging as we get set for the second half of the season.
For sure.
For all of you out there listening or watching, here's our question for you this week. Which part of the Canadiens game do you feel best about at midseason? And which area concerns you the most for the second half? So just kind of like we said, there's both sides of the coin here. What part of the Canadiens game do you feel best about so far at midseason? And which area do you have the most concern about heading into the second half? The way for you to send in your replies, and remember, we will choose the best responses and read them on next week's show. But the way for you to respond, send us a text on the Rocket Sports text line. That's 585-3-ROCKET. We get lots of texts there each and every week. That's 585-3-ROCKET. You can also leave us a comment on our YouTube channel. You can find us over at InsideTheCanadiens.com. You can leave us a comment on Spotify if that's how you're listening to the podcast. Or you could hit us up on social media. Remember, the handle is @Habs Connection on X, on Facebook, on Instagram. Drop a message there, either a reply or a DM. Any way you choose to do it, just get in your answers to that question. Which part of the Canadiens game do you feel best about at midseason, and which area concerns you most for the second half? And when we come back, we've got some great replies to last week's Canadiens Connection question of the week that we're going to share with you. So stick around. You're listening to the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio.
The holidays are heating up on Pick 6, DraftKings' newest fantasy pick'em game. Make your NBA picks for a shot to win big cash prizes this holiday season. Here's how it works. Just choose more or less on 2 or more player stats. The more accurate your picks, the bigger your payout. It's the kind of upside you'll only find on Pick 6, not those other pick'em sites. And it's available in most states, including Texas, California, Georgia, and more. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. New DraftKings customers can play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits with code THPN. Ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
And welcome back to episode 381 of the Canadiens Connection podcast right here on Rocket Sports Radio. If you are listening on a platform which allows you to leave a review or give us a 5-star, or on YouTube, you can leave us a like. If you would do us a favor and just do that really quickly, if you're enjoying the show, if you consistently enjoy the show, it's a great way to help us out. It's an easy and free way for you to help us out. And another way for you to help us out is to share this episode, whether it's on the podcast platform you're currently listening to, whatever player you're listening to, or on YouTube. Just share the episode and help spread the word about the Canadiens Connection podcast. Also, be sure to check out our written coverage of the Canadiens each and every week on hockeyhotstove.com. That's hockeyhotstove.com. Click the Canadiens logo and you'll get Chris G's weekly notebook of what's going on with the Canadiens, and also some news on the Laval Rocket as well. And so you don't want to miss any of that. Don't forget, we do want your answers to this week's Canadiens Connection question of the week. Which part of the Canadiens game do you feel best about at midseason, and which area concerns you the most for the second half of the season? Now, last week we asked you, has Jacob Fowler's early success changed how you feel about the Canadiens' goaltending plan for this season? And over on YouTube, we had an interesting reply from @PMoranFidelt. He says, Fowler and Dobish are doing great in goal. This should be the set we run with, and Montembeault needs to head to the AHL for a permanent shift there. Fowler's play hasn't changed this in my mind at all, but has solidified it. The Habs are a young team, and we should not be surprised that the younger goalies are getting it done. Very well said.
Very well said. Great comment. And this next comment, I believe, was in response to that comment. This one coming from @Rhino Bourgoin, 8829. And he says, Montembeault would be claimed if he was put on waivers, and Hugo will not lose an asset that can eventually be used in a trade for assets. So the Habs are going to help Monty get back to his great play of last year and allow Fowler to continue his development in the AHL and ride Dobish to see if he can be the number one goalie.
All right.
So an opposite view there. I just kind of push back a little bit. Montembeault, kind of mediocre all the way through, and didn't have to play the kind of style that the Canadiens are playing. His numbers were kind of overinflated. And the other part of that is we've seen Hughes. He walked away from potential trades in his the expiring unrestricted free agent contracts. He didn't trade Savard, didn't trade Armia when he could have got them for assets. And Montembeault trading goaltenders. The goaltender market is very difficult, and Montembeault at his stage, I don't know a 7th round pick. I don't know what you get there anyway. But you want to respond to that, we'd be glad to hear from you as well.
Definitely. And we appreciate the comments. Point, counterpoint, friendly debate. We love it. So coming up this week, we've got, of course, the Canadiens playing in St. Louis against the Blues at 4:00 today. That is Saturday. Then on Sunday, they head to Dallas for a 2:00 matinee. Look, another one of those Sunday games. They keep going. Then they play on Wednesday.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yes, Wednesday is my birthday. We'll see if they can get me a win on my birthday. They play at home against Calgary at 7:30 on Wednesday night. And then it's a back-to-back because they play Florida on Thursday night at the Bell Center. That's a 7 p.m. Eastern start. After that whirlwind of 4 games in just about 5 days, then we will see you back here for the next episode of the Canadiens Connection podcast on Saturday, January 10th. We can't wait to be here. We can't wait to see what the Canadiens got up to this week ahead. And you know that we'll have another topic to cover and drill down on, and we'll see what kind of news we can come up with next week. All we know is that in order for you to find out, you got to be there. So thank you very much for listening to the Canadiens Connection podcast, and we'll see you again next week right here on Rocket Sports Radio.